So there you go. Okay.
Paul, I understand you've got concerns about the way that Brexit is affecting Scotland at the moment and how it might affect it in the future. Perhaps you could expand on that a bit.
Absolutely. Not only Brexit, but the previous referendum as well, and the promises that have been made in the long term, and yes, that's.
Do you feel that the promises that were made about more devolution to the Scottish Parliament had not been kept?
Absolutely not. A lot on all the sides of the unionist parties. We have seen a lot of promises to put doubts on the voters, and like federalism as well, haven't been kept at all.
So this feels like a betrayal.
Betrayal would have been a feeling that I would have in many of the constituents, but it's a harsh word, but let's face the truth, it has been a betrayal.
And maybe there's a continuing sense that because of all the turmoil, Westminster remains basically obsessed with itself and cannot really deal with the demands of the regions and the devolved parliaments.
Well, let's face it, the MPs within Westminster are far away from the concerns of grassroots and guys like me. I rely more in the Scottish Parliament to feel more about the concerns of everyday life and everyday issues like poverty, like disability, and the proof is I can meet my First Minister in any situation. I see her almost in a month basis.
So there's tremendous accessibility there.
Absolutely, there's a huge accessibility. While although you can easily speak to SNP MPs efficiently and in an efficient way, but still our Scottish MPs are not listened to and are constantly targeted as basically as people that wouldn't be listened to in Westminster.
The sense that the SNP is probably an extremist party, is that what you're saying, in terms of how Westminster views it?
Well, I have the impression that unionists don't have the wrong how to say, image.
Right.
Whatever they can say, even if they are dead right. For example, very black.
Yes.
Or Mary Black, the youngest MP elected. I mean, every time she takes the stand, she's absolutely right, and I don't see anything racist or anything.
No.
While you look at even at Tory conference, at the last Tory year conference, have been a lot of xenophobia going on, and to have representatives from the UKIP party saying that they've been fetching quite deeply into xenophobia. That tells absolutely.
Yes. So, have you personally had any experience since the Brexit referendum of personal hostility in terms of comments to you or anything like that?
Absolutely, absolutely, and internet is a way to express that kind of nastiness and racism, because let's face it, those racist pro-Brexit views are shown in a very vile way on the internet, because they're hiding.
Yes, they can be anonymous with
They
the
can be
names
anonymous,
they give themselves.
so behind anonymously and anonymous ways, you see all those profiles with fake names, with no face pictures.
Hmm.
I have, for example, the example of me putting on my Windows posts paper cuts of what's happening actually
Yes.
be answered with vile stickers. Answering basically is telling me that I'm stupid and an idiot immigrant, and basically until I confronted that coward, the stickers have been put on my windows.
Yes.
So, but until I confronted him face to face,
Mm.
he didn't stop.
No. And the kind of Scotland that you want to see, and that the majority here want to see, is a much more inclusive society.
It is an inclusive society. I haven't never felt except from those
Trolls, as it were,
trolls.
yes.
From those trolls, the system in themselves. There's a big majority of people that care, but that are misinformed by the.
Yeah, but not only by government spin, but by the media, of course, in terms of the English input.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a lot of concerns of mine, but not only of mine. I believe of a lot of people, which have seen the rise of the Brexit, and that don't even make sense at all.
Traditionally, the Tory party has always been the party which has defended its economic policy. Do you see that policy as now being in tatters as a result of Brexit?
The question I'm asking to myself, what policy do they have? The vote on Brexit have been clearly a mix of racism, of intolerance, of defiance towards the Tories policies that have been driving Britain
The austerity, you mean?
into austerity.
Mm.
We have a lot of Nobel Prize philosophers and economists saying that austerity is not a solution in itself. It tackles the poorest, the more fragile,
Yeah.
which I'm part of, being a disabled, heavily disabled person with peripheral neuropathy. It's in itself. I don't wish the kind of disability I have to any of my brothers, as
Yes.
every man for me is
No.
is a brother.
Mm.
So it is a very heavy disability, and it's not something that you see right away when
Yeah, maybe it's not so visible
it's not
as
so visible.
some other disabilities, but equally it's very debilitating, and it affects the quality of your life.
Absolutely, it's kind of a burning pain, and some days when I'm tired or when I'm it goes to till the point that I cannot set my foot on the ground, and
and I suppose if you're in that kind of situation, the impact of Westminster on disability benefits and other issues, like the bedroom tax, for example, all those must feel 100 times worse if you're in that situation.
absolutely. I mean, there have been thousands of people that have died, that have been declared fit for work, and the Tory party should bear, if not full responsibility for it, on their conscience. They have to bear some responsibility towards it. They are guilty of bringing that on people who should concentrate to get better, instead of charging them with reproach and
Yeah. Also, I think there's been a lot of controversy over organisations like Atos, whose questions to those who are, very unwell, have not been the kind of questions that allowed for different interpretations. So it was more like ticking a box, which is simply inadequate. Would you say that, on the whole, most British political parties have now taken a swing to the right?
absolutely, there have been a clear swing to the right, finger pointing, basically,
Blaming and shaming.
blaming and shaming those who are not able to find work. Poor workers, millions of poor workers are now facing to rely on food banks to feed themselves. And that as well, the Tory party and even Labour Party, for voting those cuts, are part of the problem.
Yeah. So they're failing ordinary people.
They're failing on a daily basis, ordinary people, absolutely. And in the SNP, for example, I see a party that is inclusive, that is asking around them what kind of solutions. I have been myself the tool of improving foreign languages at school, because I'm multilingual. I know what can improve foreign languages in school. You need, of course, the basic of orthographic and how to write the language, but how to express it.
Yes, in a conversational way.
In a conversation type of way. So that kind of knowledge that I have been possible to be brought up.
And have you had an input into one of the forums, as it were, that's looking at that?
Absolutely. Those brilliant ideas don't come from specialists. They come from people that had a daily experience on the matter. And myself being gay, I have been as well a mean to bring forward to try to stop young gays that have an issue with accepting themselves as gay. I put up a bill against bullying at school, basically, which have been brought and are now implemented.
That's wonderful news, isn't it?
It's wonderful news that a party like the SNP is able to bring those ideas up.
Yes.
And that really escapes the minds of hard thinking unionists.
Yes.
Basically whatever the SNP can make that can bring up positively is basically thought as SNP bad. We had recently the example of an SNP MP bringing up a bill to pardon gays that have been criminalized for just being gay. I mean,
at another time, of course, we're looking back to the 1940s, 1950s, when the whole subject was criminalised. Still, it took a while before that began to change. But there were lots of people with convictions, including, of course, Alan Turing, and basically the government has tried to be committed to granting a pardon. But we had the Tory MP recently who was filibustering his way through the total debate on the excuse that Parliament would consider it in a different way. But of course that's brought about a sense of further distrust, I think. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely. I mean, in the bill in itself, it has been said that everyone should be pardoned if there's no child abuse, includes basically yes, as you said, the bill was very nicely tight and pardoned all those who haven't been involved in child abuse or issues that haven't been that would bear
some kind of criminal
offense.
Yes.
As we see it today. So basically, again, it has been SNP bad. Everything that will be brought by the Scottish MPs, may they be Labour or Liberal Democrats, everything that the Scottish MPs would bring up will be dismissed.
Yeah, or sidelined.
Exactly.
Do you think if we had a stronger Labour Party and Liberal Party that might be changed a little?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not in Scotland, anyway.
No, well, of course.
Because they will be diluted
yes.
into the main unionist concerns. We have seen a formidable rise of SNP MPs. That's a message in itself.
Yes.
I think it was Margaret Thatcher that said that a majority of independent MPs would see in itself a mandate for independence.
That's an interesting reflection, isn't it? Even
Exactly.
from a person like Margaret Thatcher, whom you wouldn't expect it from.
Exactly.
It's also interesting that, particularly in the north of England, there are now more residents and constituents there that are beginning to sign up to the Scottish National Party.
Absolutely, we see a rise of interest even in London. We as the SNP party is having some support.
Yes.
In London, and people asking for Northumberland and to be attached to Scotland to participate.
Yes.
And it's
yes.
absolutely unbelievable. And why? The answer is simple. The SNP is a progressive movement, is an inclusive movement, is a movement that cares about what people think, feel or live in a daily basis. And that I have seen it from inside. Of course, the SNP is not a perfect party.
No, well, there never is a perfect party.
There will never be a perfect movement that will look over all the aspects of the society. There are points I don't agree with Nicola Sturgeon,
Yeah.
but then again I'm able to send my concern and have a proper answer to
Yes.
it.
Yes. Which is remarkable in this day and age.
Absolutely. And I'm telling in this video, write to your MP and ask and bring your concern. I dare you to have a proper answer coming from your MP. I dare you. At least outside of Scotland, because every single question that I had found kind of an echo on my MP.
Paul, just before we close, I wonder if you'd like to reflect a bit on. We know that at the moment Nicola Sturgeon is very frustrated about the Brexit talks, and Scotland is determined to stay within the EU. Have you got a picture of how you would like it to pan out in relation to that whole area?
Well, I must say that Nicola Sturgeon is really, really wise and tries to make the best for the Scottish people, but not only for the Scottish people. She's frustrated by what might happen in the peace process between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah.
And that as well, that, you know, I really have the impression that frustration is coming out of it. And the peace process might have been as well shattered by the actual position of the Tory party.
Yes. And maybe they don't particularly understand the situation fully in either Scotland or Northern Ireland.
Absolutely, they're far, far from it. And whatever they might say, I have the impression that Nicola Sturgeon won't be listened to.
With all sorts of potentially very divisive results.
Absolutely. The Tories are putting forward the fact that the SNP is guilty about the division in Scotland.
Yeah,
But
would you say that's left over from the independence referendum, that they like to sort of interpret that their own way?
Absolutely. And we have seen recently the Scottish Minister for the Scottish Affairs saying that he doesn't care about what the Scottish people can think, and that's hardly understandable. And I mean, that says that the Scottish Minister don't care about the Scottish affairs.
Yeah.
At all.
Yes, that's pretty damning comment, isn't it, really?
It is, and I'm very worried about that. And I love Scotland. I have felt through the. I have found out that I hold some attachments, some links to Scotland, backdating from Culloden, and the very first time I set foot in Edinburgh, I felt a very, very strong link, not only because of my blood relations, but as well of the way I'm thinking, the progressive, the Scottish country in itself, because Scotland is a country.
Yes.
What would you call what would you call a country that holds a parliament?
Yes, quite. It is a big question, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Again, another one that Westminster doesn't want to face up to now.
Doesn't get, and
so you felt a real welcome when you came here, and a sense of identity and a sense of wanting to be part of the journey into the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would like to make a last point about what's happening economically at the moment in Scotland. We have seen the downfall of the pound. Of course, having a low level, a low value of the pound, it's good for exports.
Yes.
But we have to keep in mind that Scotland imports more than it exports.
Mm.
So on the long run, it will a low pound will see a rise in the price of basic goods. It will see as well a downfall on the power of low classes buying basic goods.
Yes. So this will actually directly impact on someone like yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And in a sense make life a lot harder for you.
It will in the long run, and the main economists agree and on that effect of the value of the pound. Absolutely.
Paul, thank you for sharing your views on Brexit. Let's hope that Nicola Sturgeon is able to find a way through the current rather murky negotiations, and that the Scottish people themselves will get a further opportunity in the future to decide what they want.
Absolutely, and I trust the SNP on that. They're the only one, on my point of view, that has still their head on their shoulder and will fight for people in Scotland. Everyone.
Thank you, Paul.